is up, everybody, and welcome to the next edition of the Flying Otters podcast. I'm stand-up comedian Jimmy McCartney, and along with me is photographer, videographer, and the tech person of this podcast, Kirsten Pacelli.
What's up?
It is good to see you guys back. We got a little bit of chaos going on here today because
we have some life updates.
Many of them. Why don't you fill everybody in, Kirsten? Hit them with it.
Okay, and in no level of or order of importance. First off, Shadow the bird. You want to tell everybody about Shadow the bird?
Yeah, I may or may not have been walking outside and possibly stepped on a bird that fell out of its nest. Maybe. I don't know. I can't confirm nor deny. Honestly, I don't know if I stepped on it or not. But long story short, we called animal control, got it in a box, and they said they were going to come and get Shadow the bird saved, but it did not overnight. It stayed there because the overnight person had to go to police calls, I guess. She said that she might not be able to make it. So the next day we called a nonprofit called, it was like Birds for Helping Hands or something like that. Yeah. And we drove this bird in a box that was covered in bird feces to a person's apartment, not a business, just a regular apartment, knocked on the door. And what did that woman do?
Grabbed it with her bare hands.
Grabbed the bird with her bare hands and instantly assessed the issue with the bird, which was a broken leg, and took it right inside.
You forgot to mention that the bird had fallen from the palm tree.
Yeah, most likely it fell about 20 or 30 feet.
Onto concrete.
Yeah, or small rock. Those were the only two landing options that bird had. But we did, in fact, save a small bird, so that's good news.
Yep. What
happened to Shadow after that, we cannot update beyond that point. But we did do our best. We tried to save a small bird.
We did. We did our part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, in addition to that, we're obviously moving.
We are moving, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the last episode that will ever be seen from this apartment. Hopefully the next time there is an episode, it's going to be from a full-blown studio that we're going to have. We're going to have a 2-bedroom apartment, so we're going to turn the other bedroom into like our office and recording studio. So we are pumped because not only are we going to have that, which hopefully it's going to look cool the next time you guys see us, but also we are pumped because we're going to be right near the beach in an awesome location in Clearwater. So
yep,
that is very good news. What else we got?
Our upcoming trip to New York.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing?
I'm going to be opening for Tom Green in Oneonta, New York, which is pretty dope. I love going to that venue, the Foothills Performing Arts Center, on March 31st. I'm going to be opening up for Tom Green. And then we're going to take a trip down to Long Island to see some of your family. And then heading all the way back up the state to the Adirondacks. I got a show at Paul Smith's College, and we're going to visit my friends and family up there. So we got a trip to New York coming in hot. And lastly.
Second to lastly, Flying Otters t-shirts.
Flying Otters t-shirts, ladies and gentlemen. We got the first ever edition of them. We have our stick figures on the front with the design that Kirsten made on the back. The logo that you always see, ladies and gentlemen, she made that. She crushed it. And so we have our first shirts ever produced coming in hot.
The mock-up did not look good on the computer, so I don't want to show you yet. But as soon as we get them in the mail, which unfortunately will be while we're gone in New York, but as soon as we get them in the mail, we have a modeling shoot scheduled.
There we go. And then, finally,
the biggest news of all.
Mm-hmm. Hit them with it, girl.
We're engaged.
We are engaged. We are officially engaged. Wapow.
Check
right
this
there.
out.
That is her ring. And part of the reason why I love this girl so much is because most girls just want the biggest, flashiest diamond that could possibly be found. And the ring that I gave her does not have one single tiny micro diamond in it, but she adores it because of how unique and special it is. Long story short, she is obsessed with space travel. And there is a company in particular that she very much enjoys. And I worked very, very hard over a long time to be able to get some metal that may or may not have possibly been affiliated with the aerospace industry, and combined that with a rock that we got in Alaska. In Alaska, ladies and gentlemen, we got a rock And then I took that to a blacksmith who specializes in custom jewelry and forged those together for her to have a custom one-of-a-kind ring that she described as looking like a world championship ring because it does not look like a standard one. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
And it came in the dopest box ever.
Yep, came in a wood box that I ingrained our stick figure symbols on the outside.
I'll put a picture up. You can see that part at least.
I think it came out relatively good other than the fact I did not do it symmetrically at all. Like, it's not centered at all.
It's even better.
Custom made. You knew that. There was no way that
one
looks
of one.
like. Yeah, that definitely did not look like a computer made that rendition. I tried hard and came out with something mediocre, but it was very special and very unique. And of all that, we are officially engaged.
Yes, we are.
So there's that, ladies and gentlemen. That is the big news that came in the last, 10 days or so since our last episode, whatever it's been. And I just think it's really cool whenever I see you holding that thing or not holding it, wearing your ring, dude. Cheers. I think she looks so cool. There we go. And the way that we celebrated it in our fashion, which of course is not only really unique, but a little bit weird. We toasted our engagement with special occasion apple juice. We were in the store and we found these glass bottles of individual portions of apple juice. And we said that we would use them for a special occasion. And so before I proposed to her, I snuck those into my backpack and brought them out to the beach. And after we got engaged, we sat and watched sunset on Treasure Island Beach and drank apple juice, which is about the pinnacle of the Flying Otters culture.
And then our dinner.
Yeah, and then we had a celebratory dinner, which was breakfast for dinner.
We killed it.
We did it our way. And it was 100% original, one of one. And I think you look really dope in that thing.
I think I do too.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty cool. It's pretty dope. And honestly, though, that's part of why I love you so much, dude. I mean, I don't want to try to harp on it and get too mushy on a podcast. That's not why people would tune in. But the reality is part of the reason I love you as much as you do is because you're so interested and passionate about the things that you care about, not what society says, right? So society says that the man should get you a really big diamond ring, and I don't have a problem with diamond rings, but I've just always felt like, that's not personable. It doesn't mean much. I mean, it's just a reflection of like financial investment. And I knew for you care more about sentiment than finance. You know, like that's just the way that it is.
And all the quests you went on.
I tried really hard. I tried really, really hard. I won't describe them on here to try to keep as much anonymity about how I was able to get the metal, which, by the way, it's called Inconel. It is a nickel superalloy, so it's an incredibly dense, hard, resistant metal. It's like a really powerful metal. And I knew that would mean more to her than anything, and that's part of why I love you so much, dude, is because you're interested in things that you care about, and they mean more to you than, flash or glamour or any of the stupid things that society puts value on.
It's pretty flashy.
It is, yeah.
And it's the biggest rock out there.
Yeah.
Biggest rock I've seen.
And it's from Alaska.
Yeah.
There we go. So that's it. That's our news, ladies and gentlemen. We are officially engaged, and I couldn't be happier. I couldn't have felt like I found a better person to spend my time with in this world. Part of the reason why I know that this was the absolute right decision for me to do is because beyond romance, beyond honeymoon, beyond, physical attraction, beyond any of the things that, most people put a lot of emphasis on, I've never enjoyed spending time with another human being more than I do with her, and I've never felt more comfortable and completed and complimented than I do with her. And there's no one else on earth that I would rather do an adventure with of like going mini putting or going to a water slide park or laser tag or watch sunset with than that chick sitting 3 feet away from me. So I feel so unbelievably fortunate. I feel so lucky.
Confessing your love to me on here.
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little weird.
I don't mind it.
So with that being said, what do we got, Kirsten? I know that you wrote down a lot of different things for the agenda today for what you wanted to go over and talk about.
Yeah, I wrote this a few days ago, but I think I want to change up how I ordered it and start where you liked the most.
Okay, hit me with it. Let's go for it.
The topic is the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
back to the original, the second episode we ever recorded, which we did not release,
Yeah.
which was all about America and why we love America. But I wanted to talk about the old American dream, or like the traditional American dream, what you think of, and then the new American dream. Like, what does that mean for us today? Like, I feel like it's obvious that most people our age feel the same way in some way or another about the old American dream, and that that's not really alive today. You know, you can't really have one person go get a job and be able to raise a whole family and buy a house and have kids off of one person's salary. It's just not realistic anymore. So chasing that, working your way up the corporate ladder and hoping to work for 40 years and then retire and have benefits and all these things and then start living is kind of old. But what's the new American dream, and like, what has that been replaced with?
I mean, I would say that you did a perfect job explaining what the old American dream is. You know, you work hard, you get a house, you can raise a family, and you can be free, and that you have opportunity to, you know, improve your life no matter who you are and how disenfranchised or how poor you are, how low you start on the totem pole. If you work hard and you believe in yourself, you can get there. Have a house, have kids, have a family. That was the American dream, and you did a good job summarizing that. I don't think there is a clear-cut accepted definition of what the new American dream is. Maybe it's still being refined, but in my opinion, it would be in the realm of kind of something of what we're doing. Not necessarily in media or that kind of a thing, but in tech, that, you know, with the advent of the internet, no matter how poor you are, no matter who you are, you have the ability to be seen and be heard and contact people. You know, like what I do as a stand-up comedian was not possible 45 years ago, because basically I do all my own bookings. And the way that I do that is I go on the internet and I research different, primarily colleges and military bases, and using the internet with a $20 a month internet, you know, bill and a computer that I got at Best Buy for $300 and a notepad, I'm able to research venues and try to make enough of a living to survive. That's, in my opinion, as much of an American dream as anybody could hope for.
And you're doing what you want to be doing.
And I'm doing something that I love doing. I truly love doing stand-up comedy. Not as much for, you know, what happens on the stage. I mean, those moments are really cool, and it's a powerful energy. The thing that I enjoy the most about what I do is after the show. When people come up to me and they tell me genuinely that made my life better, like that made a difference in my world, that made me escape my bullshit for a while, that made me feel good, it made me forget about my sorrows and my struggles and all that crap. I feel like I'm making a difference, and I get paid to do that. That's the American dream. I'm chasing it myself, and I'm pursuing it, and I made a financial and time investment in myself to create an opportunity. It was not easy. It was very difficult, and that's a whole nother, we could do a whole episode on it, but the short of it is, I used to work at PBS, and I have a large following on TikTok, and I use those two things to pitch the PBS station in Tampa when I first moved here to launch their TikTok channel. They paid me $5,000 to launch their TikTok channel, and that's all I had. So with that $5,000, instead of having a day job, I just researched and contacted colleges endlessly for 5 months, calling and researching. And eventually I was able to get colleges to say yes. And my first starting point, price point, which I thought was outrageous that they were going to try to negotiate down, which they never did, was $1,500. And I remember getting that first booking. I was like, holy shit, I'm going to get paid $1,500 to tell jokes as a nobody? What? And that came with nothing, ladies and gentlemen, but like a drive with a direction, an internet connection, a computer, and a notebook. That's it. And a telephone to call people. And so that was a very long way of saying I believe that I'm living the new American dream. And there's a lot of different realms that could be. Maybe it's someone starting a tech company. Maybe it's someone, you know, working at a software firm as a developer making $150,000. They pocket $75,000. They live with a low cost of living, and then they launch their own company. You know, those are the types of things that can be possible now. And I believe that that dream is alive and well if people know that it's possible to do that. The problem is that because the old American dream was so ingrained in people of go to college and then get a job, that's the pathway so many kids thought they had to do. And the reality is that people our age are finding out that a lot of that shit isn't the truth. How many people do we know that are more or less our age coming out of school with $50, $100, $150, $200,000 in debt with like a degree in sociology or, you know, gender studies from a public institution or a private school and they can't get a job, or they get a job but it's an entry-level position making $19 an hour. They're never going to be able to pay that back. And so a lot of people are just disenfranchised and they think the American dream is dead. And I say, I don't necessarily think it is. I think it's not in the classical sense of the way that it used to be. It's just different now. It involves being a self-starter, being innovative, thinking creatively, and advocating for yourself. The traditional path, I believe it's not working anymore. That doesn't mean that I have a problem with college. That doesn't mean I don't believe it's possible for anybody. It definitely is. If you go to school for something that your major has your job title in it, nursing, accounting, teaching, it will lead you directly to the profession.
Trade school type things.
Welding, plumbing, you'll go directly to where you need to be. But if you have a college major that's nebulous, like anthropology or business, sure, maybe you can get an entry-level job. But if you have anthropology, maybe you get lucky and you get like the assistant curator of a small museum making $18 an hour. And I'm not minimizing that. If that makes you happy, that's great. The problem is that so many people go to school and they come out of it and they can't get a job, or they get an entry-level job that pays not much more than, working at McDonald's, but they have $200,000 of debt. So like, yeah, I would understand why so many people feel like the American dream is dead or it's not working out. I just think it's because the old version of it is dying. Not dead, it's just dying. So the question is, what can you do in order to create your own? And I think that lies with the internet, with being a self-starter, with being creative and pursuing something unique. And we're lucky, dude. How lucky are we that we live in a time in history where with a $20 a month internet connection, a telephone, and a notebook, you can launch a business or pursue your own path. Like, that is completely possible. As we get an ad. This episode of the Flying Otters podcast is proudly brought to you by Always Flex Foam for fit bodies or any body, so that you can feel yourself.
Oh, and Cheetos.
And don't forget the wonderful fine folks at Cheetos Puff Cheese Pizza Flavored Snacks. And
the bad thing about this is that it will go for 60 seconds of ad, and then after the 60 seconds, if we do not push skip, it will go with unlimited amount of ads until
beautiful.
You push skip. So.
Beautiful. That means we have more sponsors. We missed Dial Soap, but we cannot forget the fine folks at Pampers.
All right.
Pampers, ladies and gentlemen, wants you to know that ordinary diapers do not have the coverage that they do. They have 3 times the amount of coverage as ordinary diapers. So that's good to know. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget about Capella University, where you can get your medical care and start a career at the same time. Those are our sponsors for today, ladies and gentlemen. We may or may not have had paid endorsements, or possibly, as we had a YouTube video up, they naturally played on their own. I'll let you be the judge. Do we, the Flying Otters podcast, with an astonishing 17 subscribers, get our first paid sponsorships? Or alternatively, Kirsten,
you forgot to mention that we are also brought to you here by Home Depot.
That is true. The fine folks at Home Depot, where doers get things done. And they do
We've been doing.
Yeah. Have we been getting done?
I don't know that we've been getting done, but we've
just
definitely been doing.
Yeah. That's half of the equation. And honestly, though, I mean, not to sound too cliche, but like that's a very good segue back into what we were talking about. A lot of people feel like if you haven't reached your goals yet, or things aren't working for you, that you're failing. And I would just say that you're not. There's a really good singer that I love that I was listening to her song the other day. Her name is Claire Wright. And basically what she says is no matter what's going on, just hold on tight. Eventually things will get better one day. Like, you're just in a low and you have to just keep fighting and holding on. And like, it's easier said than done. But the truth is it can be possible. So for anybody out there that is pursuing a dream or is starting a new endeavor or feels lost, you just keep going and eventually things will change. They have to. It may get worse before it gets better, but things will eventually change. You're not going to be where you are forever if you keep making effort and you keep trying. I know better than anybody, and anyone that worked sales, you know this. You were in sales too. You go through phases where you keep getting told no, rejected, pushed away, not interested, sorry, and you feel lost. You feel like a failure. Like, why is this happening? When you're in that situation, you only have 2 choices, right? It's either accept those thoughts of I'm lost, I'm a failure, why does this keep happening, and give up. And then definitively with 100% certainty you're never going to have a change of outcome. Or alternatively, you keep going. And if you keep going, then eventually something will have to give in. It's just law of averages. The whole thing about 100 doors, that's true.
Yeah. I think the thing that gets lost about the traditional 9 to 5 too is that, or the traditional old fashioned American dream is that the old fashioned American dream, you could work 40 years and still live a good life outside of your work. The guy puts in, his 9 to 5 every day, throughout the week. And then the chick gets to raise the family and be home with the family. And then they get to spend the evenings and the weekends and everything together. And that's the traditional American dream. And then you have a company that treats you well enough. You have health benefits for your whole family and you're taken care of and you can live fine. You don't have to struggle to pay bills and you're not so overworked and stressed that you feel like that's what your whole entire life revolves around. Now it's not like that anymore. You have to revolve your life around your work and you have to overwork yourself to the point of exhaustion and overwhelm, and you still don't get anywhere. You're still struggling to pay bills and you're still struggling to make ends meet and you're still struggling to find your passions and to find out what your purpose even is at this corporation where they don't even see you as a human being. And it's it all gets lost in that. And so it's what are people really supposed to be pursuing now if it's not the American dream that was traditional? And is it supposed to be we're all just chasing money, or we're chasing passion and creativity and purpose, or is it a good mix of all of it? Is it mental health that we're now focused on that's more than anything, because that somehow became lost in everything, where you don't need to actually work on yourself and your mental health and your physical health?
I think a lot of people now are starting to come to the realization that the value of experiences exceeds the value of money. So there's a lot of people who you see the van life, which I personally think gets glamorized. Me personally, as a germaphobe, would not enjoy pooping in public toilets, living out of a van. I don't mind living out of a suitcase. I've done it for 3 years. I just don't like pooping in public toilets. Not a fan. So I think there's certain aspects of van life that get glamorized, but the reason I think people are gravitating towards that is because they're realizing they would rather have experiences with a low cost of living than have a high cost of living, right? So it's the idea of, would you rather have a BMW and no money in the bank account, or drive an old Toyota so you can take trips to Hawaii and Fiji? I would choose option B every time.
Yeah.
And
well, that depends on who you are too.
Everybody makes different choices.
If driving around in that flashy car makes that person genuinely feel good about themselves, then whatever. You know?
Different strokes for different folks. But I think more people are realizing what it is that they truly want, which is a good thing. I think they just feel disenfranchised about, okay, I came to the realization of this is how I feel, but okay, now what? And it's not easy. I'm not saying that the American dream is easy. There is no guarantees. The American dream does not guarantee outcome. It guarantees opportunity. And I think that's a really important distinction, right? The idea that you're not guaranteed success if you start your own endeavor or your own business or you follow your own pathway. You're not. You're just simply not. What you are guaranteed is the ability to try. Sorry. You're guaranteed the ability to try. You're guaranteed the opportunity to give it a shot.
That's the American dream, is the opportunity to follow your passion and to make something bigger of yourself than what you've been told your whole life you're supposed to do.
Yes.
You've been told you're supposed to do it the traditional way, and what the real opportunity is now is that you don't need permission to do anything. Yeah. We didn't need permission to start this podcast. We didn't need anyone's approval or anyone's contract to say, government. Here, you can do it.
Right.
I mean, we didn't need a paycheck to do it either. We don't need those things in order to pursue our passions and to hope to make something more of ourselves someday.
Exactly.
And we don't need anyone else's approval either.
And I think that's one of the things that gets lost is people don't realize how lucky you are that you live in a country where you have the ability to do that.
And that we can put this out to whoever wants to watch this.
Yes.
Around the world can watch this. And we have the ability to put this out there and our voices to be heard by anybody.
Yeah. And if we keep going with it, no matter how frustrating we get, or if we don't have followers for the first 6 months, as long as we keep going and we market it the right way and we pursue it the right way, we have an opportunity, not a guarantee, but an opportunity to make a very good living and to do what we love and to feel like we have the work-life balance that we want and doing something that we feel passionate about. That's the American dream. It's not that the government's going to come out and say, oh, you want to be podcasters? Here's a $500,000 grant for you to be a podcaster, and then you can just do it. No, the American dream is that the government just created laws so that people like me and you can go on the internet, buy this equipment, and give it a shot.
And if we're good at it, then we can make a living off of it.
Yes.
And that's the American dream, is you can make a living off of whatever you're good at.
Yes.
Like the guy who made the ring.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
how specialty is that?
Exactly.
But he's making a living off of doing real specialty things.
I'm not going to say what his rate is, but he's charging a very, very hefty amount because he has such a specialized skill. There's not many people that does that. And so he's able to make, and he's not like a multimillionaire by any chance. He's not unbelievably wealthy, but he makes enough money to help him and his wife support a family. They have their own house that's off the grid. They go snowboarding all the time. They live
and
a happy...
he gets to work when he wants, with who he wants.
Exactly.
And pick his clients, pick his projects, what he wants to work on.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing with photography and with comedy. You don't have to go do anything. You don't have to call up the colleges you don't want to call up.
Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing.
And you can make so much money in, people spend an entire workday, right, to accomplish certain things and for their job and get things done. But how much of that work time is actually spent doing whatever you were working towards? You spend all day making calls and trying to book things so that you can do a comedy show. People will spend all day doing the booking and doing all that bullshit work and never even get to do the comedy show and do the fun part, do the after show, and you just do the hard work just for someone else to be able to enjoy the after show and the comedy show. And that sucks.
And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The thing that a lot of people should understand is that the beautiful thing of the American dream is that it isn't a set in stone pathway. It's not saying that everyone should be an entrepreneur. It's not. It's not saying that everyone should be an artist. You know why? Because we need engineers, we need doctors, we need lawyers, we need janitors, we need everything. The American dream is not a set mandate for everyone should try to be this. If you want to be a nurse because you want to help the community, the American dream allows you the ability to say, I'm going to start a community college, bust my ass, and I'm going to get a high enough GPA where I can transfer into a 4-year school and get a 4-year degree from a college, and then I'll make $80,000 or $100,000 a year as a nurse in a hospital where I'm going to help the community. I'm going to provide a life for my family.
Doing what I love.
Yes.
And that's the point, doing what you love.
Yeah.
When I worked at those corporations, I did like some of the work and I liked some of my customers, but was it my passion and my dream to be selling electrical components? No, it was absolutely not. But it was a good life while I was there. And there was many, many times while I was there where I was making good money. I was living a good life, but I was like, am I really fulfilled with my work? Do I feel like I'm really making a difference in the world? Do I feel like I'm really putting anything that's part of me out there? And this ad is now brought to you by
Nivea? I don't want to get our sponsors wrong.
This is Walmart.com.
Walmart.com is proudly offering Nivea skincare cream to increase the health of your skin, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to check out the movie A Working Man, now only playing in theaters as of March 2025. Of course, the wonderful fine folks at Uber Eats providing Coca-Cola Zero Sugar with a healthy, well-balanced meal from Wendy's, ladies and gentlemen. You can get them for a low, low price using Uber Eats.
Again, the same commercial.
Uber Eats is such a fine product that they wanted to get their message out there 2 times consecutively, ladies and gentlemen, and we're proud to be there.
Because it was a buy one, get one commercial.
Oh, there we go. Just like the buy one, get one provided by Uber Eats. And, of course, don't forget the wonderful automaker Honda at GulfCoastHondaDealer.com/deals. You can check out the latest deals that they're offering on both Civics and Camrys, ladies and gentlemen.
And if any of these fine folks would like to sponsor an advertisement with us instead of this YouTube video of a stagnant screen,
the screen...
We're here.
The screen is not so stagnant because I feel like this is the highest ratio of ads I've ever seen in a YouTube video ever.
Yeah.
But the point, I think, really, more than anything, is that the beautiful thing about America, this is my opinion, the beautiful thing about America is that it is not a race. It is not a religion. It is a creed. It is a belief system. It doesn't matter if you come from Japan or Ethiopia or Mobile, Alabama. If you believe in certain principles, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, live and let live, pursue your own path, minimal government intervention in your life, You are an American. I believe some of the most American people I've ever met are immigrants that came here 5, 10, 15 years ago who love this country
Or
because of
80.
the opportunities, or 80 years ago, like your grandmother.
Or 85 years ago, maybe.
75? If she's 95.
She's about to turn 96. And she came here when she was 21, I believe.
85? See, here's the beautiful thing about America. You do not need to be good at math in order to succeed in this world. You can be unbelievably horrific at math. As long as you have one skill set and you're really good at it and you promote it, you can make a living off of it. You don't need to be good at everything.
Stick to comedy.
Yeah. And even that. But that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that people who come here...
And you can do multiple things. You don't even have to stick to one thing.
If
You can be good at multiple things. And even if you're not good at multiple things, you can make yourself good at multiple things. Like,
there are many
I'm sure
people,
that you haven't always been good at comedy.
I definitively not. And some people would argue that I am still currently not. That is a very valid argument that
I've
some
not
people
always
could
been
make.
this great of an artist.
You crushed that painting. But that's the thing, is that you can come here, and as long as you believe in yourself and you work hard and you believe in the method, you have the opportunity to go from being completely impoverished in order to support multiple generations of your family. It doesn't always happen. There are definitely people who fall between the cracks. There are definitely people who try really hard and deserve more who haven't gotten it. The promise of the American dream is not an outcome. Our dog Mac is trying really, really, really hard. How about you continue a thought while I hold him for a second? Go.
Continue your thought.
A thought.
We are telepathic, but I don't know that I can continue your thought there.
Any thought.
Oh
no.
I think Mac has something to say.
Okay. All right, so now that this lasts about 5 seconds, let's see how long this one lasts. I thought this would be a better option. Sometimes when you pick him up, he just goes to sleep. But I don't believe that's going to be the option for today. Nope.
Not looking good.
It is not. Okay. With that being said, I think the beautiful thing about America is that if you come here and you believe in a certain set of ideals, you are as American as someone who's been here for 5 generations, 6 generations, or more. Thank you, Mac. Good effort. All right.
You think Mac's American?
I don't believe he has birthright citizenship.
He's Amish.
He is Amish. Well, yeah. I mean, technically, I guess that gives him exemptions from war and taxes, so that's good for him. He can't be drafted by the military as a war dog, so he's got that going for him.
We do not avoid taxes because of him, though. Unfortunately.
We do not. That'd be nice. Why are you tax exempt? We have an Amish rescue dog.
And he said that we don't have to pay taxes.
Where was I? Okay. So to get back to what we were trying to say, right? Let's focus. Center the chi, clear the mechanism. Here we go. America
USA.
there's definitely a lot of struggles, ladies and gentlemen. No one would ever make the argument that America doesn't have flaws. No one would make the argument that no one gets left behind. There are people who deserve to have a wonderful life that do not. They struggle. They can't get ahead. Bad things happen. I don't claim to know why, and I understand that there are things that are frustrating with current situations. I get it. The promise of America is not that every single person is going to excel and do wonderful. The promise of America is that you have the opportunity to do so. And most people that grew up in America have no clue that in almost every country on earth, they do not have the opportunity to do that. Because even if you come from a relatively wealthy country, there are laws in place that ban you from saying certain things and doing certain things. In some countries, they literally dictate to you what jobs you're going to do. You have zero choice of what you want to do with your life. The government assigns it to you. And that's if you're lucky enough. There are some countries that are in such disarray that people are just fighting to survive. You know,
what are those countries?
Not having enough to eat, where they assign North Korea.
Is that like North Korea? Okay.
North Korea tells people this is your job.
When do they tell you that? Like what age or like what milestone in your life?
I believe it happens when you are in school. So like as you're in school, they track you, and that affects what schools you go to. And then of those schools that you go to, those dictate what career paths that you get assigned. You know,
is it based on what you like, or
no? It's based on what the government needs.
Oh.
So basically, the individual is responsible for the benefit of the collective government whole, as opposed to the opposite model that we have. So like the government is supposed to provide opportunities for the individual to do what they like. They view it the opposite way, that individuals are responsible to helping the collective government.
Do they get to pick like any part of where they go to school or like any part of their childhood, or is the childhood just as
So the schools that
fucked?
the kids go to are dictated based on like your family's status, what they've done, but then also it's like if you, I don't know exactly the details of how their tracking system works, but it's in the realm of like if you do not test well and do well, then you're not allowed to continue. Like they basically they put you down a pathway based on how you're doing in school, and they like this is what you're going to be. So
Wow.
like a kid who potentially, this is very, very made up, but like a kid who's very intelligent, right? Like they had the potential to be someone who could be a doctor, but when they were younger, they were not working as hard, or they weren't tracking that well. Whereas like in America, if you don't do that well in high school, you could even finish in the, like me, I finished in the bottom 50% of my high school class, but I was able to get a master's degree because I started at community college and then transferred in, right? That type of opportunity doesn't exist there. If you don't do well when you're young, like it's just like it's over. So like the pressure is on from a young age, and that's if you're lucky enough.
Do you think that's an Asian culture thing? Or do you think that that's strictly a North Korea thing and how they do that?
That's a very communist thing.
Do you think that's like, I mean, it is also a very Asian culture thing that they ingrain in them, that like you have to always work really, really hard in school. Where like, I feel like here it's a lot more lenient for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like you said, because you can still go on and be a successful person if you didn't do good in grade school.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm testament to that, and I don't mean about look how good I did, but like I have dyslexia and ADHD, and I finished in the bottom 50% of my high school class. I started at community college where I got like mostly B's, and then I transferred to a 4-year school where I got all A's, and then in grad school I got all A's, and I finished in the top 10% of graduate school. I was the same person. And not arguably, it's just obvious that high school is objectively way easier than graduate school or undergrad.
Also, I don't know. I don't know if this is just a hot take, but high school is kind of like not taken very seriously by anybody, it feels like.
A lot of people.
It feels like the system doesn't even take it very seriously, you know, by making it like standardized tests, and every kid just has to take a same standardized test. It's like, how much attention are they really putting into my education?
I mean, that could be a whole episode. And this was something that my mom fought for 20 years. Most of my family are public school teachers, and my mom specifically fought the standardized testing because she didn't believe in it. And, you know, it really is astonishing how almost all day he's just been sleeping and been fine. We try to do a podcast, and he's really been going hard. But this is Mac, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't met him yet, you definitely have now.
He will grow throughout the series with us.
Yeah. And so my mother spent decades of her career fighting the standardized testing because she didn't believe in it. She thought that kids were not learning to think critically. They weren't learning to think individually, and there was too much emphasis placed on cramming down, memorize A, B, C, or D. What is the correct answer? And so kids were not developing critical thinking skills. They were not thinking individually. They weren't having debates. They were just being told to regurgitate facts that they're never going to care about. And my mom thought it was diluting the value of education. And simultaneously, she believed that the government was making poor decisions due to, you know, maybe nefarious things happening with these testing companies that were profiting millions and millions of dollars off of contracts with the government, which never made sense to begin with. And so, yeah, I agree completely. The idea that these standardized testings are happening is stupid, especially in the day of Google and the internet.
And ChatGPT.
And ChatGPT. The necessity for knowing who the 7th president was silly back in the 90s. It is absurd now. It is absurd. What we need to be teaching kids, how can you be able to have civil conversations with people you disagree with? How can you use your arguments that logically...
Thinking critically.
How can you think critically? How can you use your arguments to present information to someone else who disagrees with you?
Also creatively, because especially in the time of AI and ChatGPT, like, it's almost impossible to even try to think creatively anymore, because it's like you just write into ChatGPT, make me a creative thing, and then it tells you exactly what to draw me this picture, and then it, like, you don't have to even think anymore to get anything done. It's like, figure out an entire business plan for me and make an entire brand identity for me, and it's got it done in 30 seconds. Not even.
It's pretty wild.
And so you don't even have to think creatively with things anymore. And so I think that's all the more reason to completely hone in on the skills that you do have, or the skills that you do want to learn, so that you can utilize those. Because eventually it's going to be like, okay, well, we don't want AI pictures of Steven Stamkos in the lightning shooting a puck. Like, we don't want that. We want a real photograph of him in, like, really at the game playing. And there's going to be a lot to be said for a real photograph when everybody's going to be able to tell that's AI. Until AI gets so good that nobody can tell that's AI. And then it's like, how do we really prove what's even real in the world anymore?
I mean, yeah, and that's another really big conversation.
When all the news and media turns into who knows if that's an AI picture or not.
Yeah.
And then every picture has to be credited by the photographer in order for you to know it was a real, actual photo. And even still, it's like, did that photographer distort the image,
What I think is a really scary thought, and something that is inevitable in my opinion, is it's going to get to a point where it's going to be incredibly easy to frame people for crimes. They already have voice technology where you can just basically, and they're starting with people who are famous because they have so much data on like the way their voice and the inflections of their voice. So like someone like Joe Rogan, dude, a couple of years ago, they had technology where they could make it sound exactly like Joe Rogan said something, and you could not distinguish. Like, it was identical.
And that was what was available to the public.
And yeah, dude, but you combine that with, eventually it's going to get to a point where it's the same thing, but with film. It's going to be unbelievably easy to frame somebody. Well, they already started doing that,
and they already started not paying the actors and actresses for their time because they don't need them anymore.
Think about how it relates to...
Like, the time that it would take to make a, hour-long movie, they need the actor for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
To get enough footage to be able to completely like AI generate the movie.
Think about how that reflects though for crime, how easy it would be. If you have access to that technology, how easy it would be to frame somebody for a crime between voice and visual things, and not just crime, but like bigger things.
You're so annoying, Mac.
Yeah.
What?
I think he's done 27 laps through here.
All right.
So AI is obviously the future. One of the things that people, I think, should have belief in and feel confident about is knowing that one of the things that's never going to go away are the trades, the physical skills, right? Those are the things that weirdly society kind of shunned and said, you shouldn't do them. Like, you shouldn't go to trade school because that's not as noteworthy or socially acceptable as going to school to be an accountant. You should rather be an accountant instead of a welder. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, that as time moves forward, AI is going to be taking away a lot of jobs. Even things in the tech field like coding is going to be antiquated.
Well, ChatGPT can already code anything for you.
So what's going to happen? What are things that computers cannot do? They cannot weld. They cannot do carpentry skills. They cannot do bricklaying.
They cannot make this.
They cannot. Also, I cannot. You need to have a special skill set, and those jobs are not going to go away for at least 50 years until robotics has the ability.
Computers cannot make good music like a band can. Computers cannot play live music like musicians can.
Computers cannot plumb a new house and put electrical wires up. They can't do that. So, like, those are the types of things that are going to be there that are going to have more and more value as we move forward.
Computers can do your tax return, though.
That's a pretty wild thought.
Yeah. Everybody already has all your data anyways. So, like, whenever they even request your data, it's not like they even need it. The IRS already knows exactly how much you owe. They just make you go through a whole load of whatever to be able to tell you how much you owe them. And then if you get it wrong.
When I filed my taxes, the computer just came back with it, just like thought about it, ... and then it responded with, damn. Damn. That was it. That was my tax return. Damn.
They're not getting a lot out of you.
Yeah, no, they are not. They are not, ladies and gentlemen. But I have filed my taxes successfully for the past 3 years. And fortunately, due to the fact that, with what I'm doing with comedy, virtually everything that I expend money on is a tax expense. And it's completely legal and it's ethical. It's the way that it's supposed to be. But I'm fortunate. I use my cell phone to make content videos and stuff. So my cell phone is a tax write-off. My car, because I have to use it to drive between shows, is a tax write-off. My flights when I go to places are a tax write-off. My meals when I'm on the road, tax write-off. The hotels I stay at. So I'm very, very fortunate that the tax code is written to support entrepreneurs. And I know that a lot of people get frustrated with the American tax code, and that's totally understandable. I definitely think there are things that are not good about it, for sure. But a lot of people don't take advantage of the fact that it was written specifically for people to try to start businesses and be entrepreneurs. Because if you do it the right way, you're not going to have to pay many taxes in a time when you're fighting to get your foot in the door.
And if you think about it, you're already, it doesn't seem like you're paying a bunch of taxes in your W-2, maybe because you just get a standard paycheck every week. But when you think about it. Like, you're paying so much money. I paid enough money in taxes last year in 1 month, less than 1 month that I had a W-2 job. I paid enough in taxes in that 1 month to cover me for the entire year and then get some back.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Of not having a job.
So what does it come down to with all of these different things? There's a lot of like fear about the future, AI, the federal government's debt, the death of the old American dream. Those are all like legitimately scary things. But what is more important than that, in my opinion? What is something good? And what I think is something good is the fact that innovation thrives in the United States. And if people take advantage of the opportunity and they bet on themselves, there is an opportunity for them to be able to completely change the trajectory of their life.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the most American people that are out there a lot of the times are immigrants who come here with nothing. They bust their ass and you see them do remarkable shit.
Yeah.
And I think I said this on the episode that we decided not to air because the audio got fucked up. Maybe or maybe not, possibly because I wired the headphones the wrong way. But when I did a show at a Marine base in North Carolina, and I met an Ethiopian immigrant who was one of the mechanics on the F-35s, our stealth fighter jets. And he had like a top secret clearance in order to, or not top, I think just secret clearance, maybe top secret, but he was one of the mechanics on our super advanced fighter jets. And he told me the story that he came to the United States where a family that were friends of his family were supposed to like take care of him and protect him, and they treated him horrible. So he left and was homeless in high school and lived out of the back of a gas station. And when he finished school, he joined the Marine Corps, worked his ass off, got to be able to work as a mechanic on the F-35, which is a really prestigious thing to do. It's not easy. You need to be intelligent. You need to be a hard worker. He's using his GI Bill to get a degree. And when he leaves the Marine Corps, he's going to end up working for, I don't know if it's Boeing or I think it's Lockheed Martin, whatever manufacturer works or develops the F-35. And he's going to work with them as a private contractor with that secret clearance. He's going to make a lot of money. And what he said he wants to do is send money back to Ethiopia. I believe he was planning on starting orphanages for other kids, something like that. And so if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, that guy came here with nothing. He loves this country, and look at what the country gave him. Completely changed the trajectory of his life. He was homeless in a gas station one step after coming from a very impoverished nation in Africa. And he worked his way into the middle class, served the country, got a GI Bill to pay for his college, which he's going to turn around and use to make $80,000, $150,000 a year. And then he's going to not only be able to support himself, but he's going to be able to give back and help other people in the world. That is the American dream. And it takes a million different forms. We're not making the argument that everybody should go out and be an artist. Everyone should go out and be a painter. That's the new American dream. Everyone should be, a podcaster or a musician. No, so the American dream is different for everyone.
Everyone should chase their purpose. That's the new American dream, is chase your purpose, and eventually you'll get paid for it.
If you want to go to college to be a teacher because you care about the community and you want to have a work-life balance with your kids, awesome. Go do it. If you want to bust your ass.
If you feel purpose at your job and you feel like good every single day, hey, that's the dream, right? Like, our purpose and, our happiness did not come from sitting in an office. That was not it for us. But for some people it is. And it affords them, just like the traditional American dream, it affords them the good life outside of work and everything else, that they feel good enough with that. And that's awesome, And
a lot of people
because there's
need
nothing
to
wrong with
realize
that.
they should not look down on themselves no matter what their job is, because we have a need for it. Imagine a world where there were no janitors. Imagine a world with no garbage men. Imagine a world where there were no landscapers. So, people need to understand that every single job has value and meaning, and your work has value and meaning. The only question is, are you happy doing it? And the beautiful thing about America is that no matter what situation you're in, if you decide that you want to, you can use your free time to work on it and develop it and pursue something that makes you feel fulfilled. And God bless America for allowing us to do that. I feel so unbelievably fortunate that I live in a country where my grandfather had to eat dented cans of soup to survive. And I'm sitting here being able to get paid to travel and tell jokes because of the sacrifices he made that provided a middle-class life for my mother. And my mother and the rest of my family helped provide me the opportunities to do this. So in 2 generations, my family went from barely being able to survive, eating dented cans of soup for weeks on end. That was the only food that they could eat with the things that couldn't be sold in stores, to this, And it's not that I have it perfect. It's not that everything is wonderful, but I feel so unbelievably lucky, and I'm so thankful for this country. And I think what people should try to realize is, yes, there are flaws. Yes, there are pitfalls. There are shortcomings, of course. But how lucky are we that we are lucky enough to be able to say, I want to do this. I want to pursue this. I want to try this. And the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, there is a necessity for everything. We need garbage men. We have to have them. We need people who work at the septic plant, the place where all of our shit goes, our feces. If we didn't have people that worked on those pipes, we would all be in a horrible, disgusting, awful mess. Thank God for those people. Those people get forgotten. No one gives a shit. But guess what? They are vital. Everyone is important. All of you are. You all have worth. You all have value. Every single one of you. Your job matters. The question is, does your job matter to you? And as long as you just answer that question, then I think that's a beautiful thing. And God bless America for giving us the opportunity to be able to pick and choose what path we want to go down. And for the possibility, not the guarantee. And that's a distinction people need to understand, because homelessness is terrible. But it is possible for you to change the trajectory of your life, not just for you, but for your descendants. If you work hard and you think creatively, America allows you that opportunity. And we are so fortunate for that.
You're living proof. You and your whole family.
Yeah. And you know, and I think I've mentioned this before, but like, nobody came to me and said, like, you should go be a comedian. I didn't naturally have the predisposition to get on stage and do that. I just decided I wanted to do it, and I worked really hard, and I made a lot of sacrifices for many, many years, and it led to this. And it doesn't mean there's a guarantee. You know, it's scary. I make my living on colleges and military bases, and colleges are having their budgets cut at the same time that the military is having all of the political things that are strangling their expense abilities. That's pretty scary shit. But I have that opportunity. Most people like would never even think that it's possible. It is. I am such a glowing example of how the American dream is completely real. I went from watching a comedian when I was living at home with my mother after being a homeless person in Seattle, right? I was a homeless person in Seattle who moved home to be with his mother, right? And I was watching every day at noon when I would make my lunch, I would watch a comedy podcast with a comedian named Dave Landau. And I watched that show every day, and I thought he was really funny. And one day when I was just an open mic comedian, I hit him up and I said, would it be possible for me to do an opening bit for you? And he said yes. And when I got there, the club didn't book a host that weekend, and they said, would you like to host for us? And I got to host the whole weekend. And that led to me getting other hosting gigs and then other shows. And then as that snowball started to grow, I became a full-time comedian, and I became friends with the very comedian who I saw on his TV podcast on the internet every single day while being someone who's living at home with their mother. I opened for Dave for like 10 or 12, 15 different weekends all over the country. And now, and Kirsten's been there, I'm a reoccurring guest on his TV show. I went from watching him on TV, folks, to being a guest on his show. And if that is not the American dream, I don't know what
Multiple
is.
times.
Multiple times. If I want to...
And you're genuinely, like, good friends with him.
Yes.
Like, he's your boy now.
I feel so unbelievably lucky for that opportunity. And that is possible. An equivalency of that is possible for all of you. Whether you want to be a plumber, an electrician, a secretary, a DMV clerk, a mailman, every single one of those jobs has value, and you can create that if you want to and you pursue it.
And also, no goal or no end goal is too lofty. Like, saying that you could be the next Shane Gillis is not too lofty to think could actually happen, because it happened for him, you know? So it's like when they say, oh no, that's impossible, like, but it's not, because Shane Gillis did it.
Shane Gillis lived at home with his parents for years. He was in a very similar situation to me. And I know a comedian that said that he was doing some show that wasn't even very prestigious, and Shane showed up and he just tried to get a couple minutes of stage time. And I'm pretty sure he didn't even get allowed to go on stage for a couple minutes. That was like a year or two before he blew up and became one of the biggest names in comedy on earth. That's the American dream, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a guarantee. It's an opportunity. What did Shane Gillis do when he was living at home with his parents? He started he worked on a podcast and went to all the open mics and the shows that he possibly could. And he put himself out there over and over and over. And regardless of what it is that you want to do, as long as you bet on yourself and you relentlessly attack it, bet on yourself. And that doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. If you want to do the standard route, bet on yourself and go back to school and get a degree and become a nurse. You can do that.
And it also doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy all the most expensive equipment to get started doing something huge right away. Like, start small. Literally, like, if you want to be a photographer, get a little tiny camera and go take pictures around and see if you like the whole process of like taking the pictures, and also know that means uploading the photos and like organizing them and editing them and sending them out and posting them places and doing all the other things that, you know, making actual content out of the photos for people once you're done. Doing all that work. Do you enjoy it? If you do, then go get the expensive equipment and then take it to the next level and then make a little bit of money and buy the next thing and make a little bit of money and buy the next thing. And you know what? You're making income, but you're also expensing it, and then you don't pay taxes on it. And that's another beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur and doing it for yourself, instead of just finding out, hey, I want to be a photographer, so I'm going to go work at the school and I'm going to do the headshots for all the kids every year for their yearbook. And that's what I do. And like, okay, yeah, you're a photographer, but like, are you doing what you want to be doing? Or are you still just on a schedule and you have that shoot and then you go do the next school and the next school and the next school? Also, at the same time, you can be a photographer if you want to and make gigs like that, your money makers, and then do what you want to do on the side. And you're getting paid to do what you love and getting practice, you know, instead of going to work to get paid so that you can go home and do photography. You just go do photography for a wedding. If you don't want to do a wedding, just do it anyway.
And all of those things build off of each other.
And
it's like you make
that's
an
also
investment.
like you trying to be a comedian, and you didn't start wanting to be a comedian, but you wanted to go to the open mics so that you could get the experience on stage and talking into a microphone. And you wanted to do TV, but things led down a different road, and it doesn't say that the road can't change at any point for you, you know?
And that required me to face my fears over and over and over and over. I had to do things that were very uncomfortable, that were very hard, that were very difficult. Not just the rejection, but the time, you know, the shame, the embarrassment, the setbacks, the feeling like you're not progressing. All of those things are really tough, but it's just a question of like what means more, you know? And I believe that if people bet on themselves, regardless of what path that takes, that the American dream is still real and it's still alive and it's still thriving for people.
It's just adapted to 2025.
It's adapted, but it's also like there isn't many people saying this message. It is alive. You have to be the one to initiate it. No one's going to come knocking on your door. The American dream is not someone knocking on your door and saying, here is $1 million.
And it
Do
never
you want
has
to be a
been.
potter? Would you like to make clay pottery? That's not what the American dream is. No one's going to knock on your door and hand you your dream. The American dream is that the laws that have been instilled based on the backs of the soldiers that fought for it years ago have allowed you the opportunity to initiate it yourself.
And you still have to work your ass off to get there.
And if you do that, if you think about what is it that I want and then you relentlessly attack it, you have the best possible chance to make it real in this country right now. And so I think that the messaging is not getting put out there. You only hear the defeatist energy of the old American dream is dead. You can't go out and buy a house and support a family anymore. Maybe that's true. So guess what? Let's buckle up and do what is it that we can do? What is it that we want to do? Let's go do it. Let's go. And if you go do that and you relentlessly attack it, you have the chance to change the trajectory, not only of your life, but of your children's and your grandchildren's, if that's what you want.
And the other thing of most importance is, in my opinion, real connections. Real people, real connections. Like, being behind a computer can only do so much. And AI can do everything now. Make real connections with people. And then one person talking about one thing might lead you to knowing a guy that does this and knowing a guy that can help you with that.
And
Who
also
needs someone that needs exactly what you have? Just like my whole insurance thing today. You know, someone contacts me when I needed something that he was offering, and his lucky day.
Yep. That's the American dream.
He shot his shot, and it was his lucky day because I called him and I said, sign me up.
And that guy probably sent out 400 emails to people just like you. But guess what? He didn't need 400 yeses. He needed one. And now his whole weekend is made because he got a new contract.
And just because all those other ones did not need insurance at that very time, it's not that he's a bad salesman. It's not that he did anything wrong. It's just that all those people did not need what he had to offer at that time, but I did.
And I think this is the thing that I don't know, as we start, it's almost that time to wrap it up. This would be the message that I would like to convey. I'm sure you're going to have a final message too. The reason why we are saying, or why, we're saying this so adamantly is because personally, both of us believe not only that it's possible for people to do what it is that they enjoy or to understand that America is a beautiful place in order to change trajectories of lives, right? But here's what I think is the most important thing that people don't hear this message. Each and every single one of you deserves it. Each and every single one of you deserves to be happy. Each and every single one of you has value. Each and every one of you has meaning. And the American dream is that you have the ability to go out and get it. So take advantage of that. And that does not mean you need to be an entrepreneur. That does not mean that you need to take risks and chances and you have to live out of a small little rental office space while you build a business and you live off ramen. We're not saying that at all. Everyone's interests and hobbies and beliefs and desires are different. But whatever it is that you have inside your heart, know that what it is that you want, you deserve it and you should get it. And you have the opportunity to go out and chase it. And I hope that each and every one of you do, because you all have value and you all have meaning in this world. And a lot of times people only get the messaging of why they're not good enough, why they're not wanted, why things aren't going their way, why you are inadequate. And I want to be someone to try to tell the opposite message, that you have value, you have meaning, you have worth, you deserve love, you deserve happiness, you deserve peace, and you deserve freedom. And I hope that each and every one of you gets that message inside your brain and you can use it to fight against all that darkness and all that bullshit that constantly attacks and berates us all the time. Every single one of you has value and meaning, and I hope the sun shines brightly for each and every single one of you.
That was so good. All I got to say is explore yourself and figure out who you are and what you like and what you want to do with your time. It's the most precious thing that you have is your time. You can't get that back. You can always make more money. You can always go get that errand done. You can always, call that person back. Explore yourself. Take the time and take care of yourself and love yourself. And then find your passions. Find what you like and what you don't like and what you enjoy doing and what you don't enjoy doing. Take out those things in your life that you don't enjoy doing and look at those things and say, why is this even in my life if I don't enjoy it? I can just get rid of it. It does not need to weigh me down any longer. If I have all this equipment that I don't want to use anymore, like my mountain bike that's been sitting in there that I need to sell it, make some money, buy a new hobby, get into something else. Figure out what you like and just explore, because the options are limitless on what you can do. And you don't have to just go by, here's your list of options of what you can pick to be when you grow up, and that's all you get to pick out of. You can literally be and do whatever you want to do if you just explore what options are available and even if there are no options available, make the options available for yourself. Make your own opportunity, like we did with this podcast. No one handed us a contract. We made this podcast, and so far, so good. I'm having fun.
Yeah, we are doing this knowing that we have currently 17 subscribers. Of those 17, we're probably going to get 5 views or something. That. But it doesn't matter.
Jamil will watch this, though.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out, Jamil.
And that's the thing. It's just we know that this is an opportunity. It doesn't have a guarantee. But we do believe that if we keep doing this and we keep believing that this has merit and that it has value and the messaging matters, eventually we could get people that listen to it. And then from there, it builds and builds and builds. And I hope that each and every one of you has happiness and fulfillment both in your work and in your free time. We hope that good things come to each and every single one of you. We thank you for spending what little free time that you had listening to this podcast, whether it's our 17 subscribers as of March of 2025, or if this is 5 years from now, if and when the podcast has exploded and we have lots and lots of listeners. You can come back to this old episode and see where it began, from the humble beginnings in an apartment with Home Depot boxes.
And I do have to mention, and I have to make note that, again, like you said at the very beginning, I made a whole long itinerary of things to talk about. And guess how many questions we got through today, ladies and gentlemen? You want to guess?
One.
One. And I don't even think it was a question. I think it was just the topic of the American dream.
Go.
Yep. But I think it went well.
And honestly, what you just said, I'll say one more thing. When we were talking about the fact that you don't need to be good at everything, I suck at math. I suck at doing anything with my hands. I suck at most things in this world, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to think, hopefully, that I do not suck at talking. hopefully, I'm decent at talking and can say things that either make people think or make people repulsed and cause them to affirm what it is that they already believed. You do not in America need to be good at everything. As long as you have one skill set. I would fail miserably at almost every single job on the planet Earth, but I was able to be a successful teacher and I was a successful salesman because I have the ability to talk and communicate with people. Whatever your skill set is, you only need one. Refine it, perfect it, and optimize it, and you can do that no matter what it is. Some people are really good with their hands. Some
and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Have fun. Life's good. Life is supposed to be good. Life is not supposed to be filled with burnout and stress. Have fun. That's what we're going to do this weekend.
Yes, we are. We are going to try our best, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of things going on. It's a lot of chaos, but
I got to go show off this ring.
You should hit him with the ba-ba-da-ba.
They don't know.
No, they do not. They do not. So here's what we'll say. I want to thank you all for tuning in. If this affirmed what you were hoping to hear, awesome. If you feel repulsed by what we said, that's still good too, because you were strong enough to listen to opposing viewpoints. And even if you hear something you disagree with, that's great because it affirms what you believe. So whether you agree with us, you disagree with us, you're in between, you're indifferent, we hope that you were entertained, and we thank you for spending what little free time that you have with us. And we hope that good things come to each and every single one of you because you all deserve it. You all have value. And we hope that wonderful things come your way. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Flying Otters podcast. And we hope to see you again soon from our new updated studio in Clearwater, Florida.
Let's go.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Peace.